Emergency Management Committee, which focuses on gas industry innovations to emergency preparedness. Prior to joining PG&E, Andy also held positions at a nuclear generation station as the emergency planning project manager and at a fire department as a fire captain. Andy, we'd like to talk with you today about something called third-party dig-ins, or when an excavator or homeowner damages buried utility lines while digging. This is not malicious, just ill-informed homeowners and excavators, which makes it all the more preventable through communication and incentives. I'd like you to talk about this issue and the Gold Shovel program in particular. Thank you so much. Andy, take it away.
Thanks, Commissioner Burman. What a great introduction, and it's really good to be on the webinar with everybody this morning, and a good opportunity to share an opportunity that's available to utilities and government organizations and private organizations nationwide, and actually going internationally very soon. So, a little background on what we've done in the last couple of years. If we go to the next slide. So here we are on slide 2. There's a picture of Berkeley Fire Department passing one of our gas service trucks, and I took this picture at the scene of a dig-in that I responded to a couple of years ago. The third parties digging into PG&E's gas system remains the biggest threat to our system, both transmission and distribution. We experience anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 third-party damages to our gas transmission and distribution system, which extends from the Arizona border to the Oregon border in California. So we've got a lot of territory and a lot of exposed system. And a couple years ago, PG&E began a concerted effort to reduce the amount of damage that was caused to our system by third parties, and also internal first party and second party damage. So first party we define as PG&E, is PG&E's own employees or own work crews. Second party would be contractors that PG&E hires to do work on our behalf, or work on our systems. And then a third party would be anybody else. So that the third parties could include homeowners, contractors, other utilities, and so that's kind of the definitions of the terms I'll be using pretty frequently this morning. So as we look at this, I want to talk about California's one-call climate very, very briefly. I want to talk about the results that PG&E has had with our efforts. And then there's actually 3 areas that I'd like to touch on this morning, but the Gold Shovel program is really where everybody has an opportunity to kind of get involved and bring some of the benefits that we've realized into your own communities and increase safety in your own communities. And that's why we want to share that. So what have we done? Let's go to the next slide. The last couple years, PG&E has been working very hard to reduce our damage ratio. And so the damage ratio is a number of dig-ins for every 1,000 locate tickets that we do, or it could be, you could call it a one call or the USA tickets. So for every 1,000 tickets, how many third-party damages do we have? And so we started in January 2014 with a rolling average of 2.78, and in May of 2016 we ended the month with a ratio of 1.93. So we're very excited and happy about the progress we've made. Our goals continue to get more ambitious, and we're looking for new ways to try and bring this number down even further. California has relative to many other states, it does not have a very aggressive one-call law. The law is there. The law requires contractors to use the one-call system, but there's little or no enforcement to that law. So when a contractor fails to follow the law and say make their call to the USA North, which is our one-call center, When they fail to do that 48 hours in advance, and as a result they might damage an underground facility, there's really no penalty from the state or from an enforcement level. Also, homeowners are not required by law to use the one-call center. So that's kind of the environment that we're operating in, and trying to, not being an enforcement agency, but trying to protect our system, and also trying to protect the neighborhoods that we not only serve, but each of our employees live in. And so we're very committed to increasing safety in the neighborhoods. So that's kind of where we're at, and where our motivations come from, and also the challenges that we have to deal with. So one of the things we piloted last year, we began this gold shovel standard program. What it did was it required our second-party contractors to, number one, develop safe digging programs and training internal to their companies that we would review first and then approve. But it also held them accountable for their performance in digging safety. So if they had 2 at-fault dig-ins where we went out and investigated the dig-in and looked at it and said, you know, this could, if you had done this correctly, you would not have struck our system. So when they get 2, they have to come in and talk to a review board, and at 3, we consider not using them as a contractor anymore as a company. So this is a big commitment for a company that has to get work done, and we have limited numbers of contractors that are actually qualified to do that work. But the one of the sayings we've got at PG&E is, we're going to do it safely, or we're not going to do it at all. And so with that commitment in mind, we set out with this gold shovel standard. And the accountability it's created has been very positive, and so far we've had really good results, which I'll talk about in a few minutes here. Let's go to the next slide. So our results, before we went live, and so during the application period, the first year was kind of, we had all of our contractors, which we had about 211 contractors that signed up for this, and they were already working for us. So any contractor doing excavation for PG&E anywhere in our company would have to be gold shovel certified. And in that first year, we experienced a 36% reduction in damages by second parties. And that was before we began enforcing the program. That was just when we were rolling it out, getting people to sign up. It also strengthened our relationships with the contractors, because in the process of requiring these efforts, approving their plans, we began conversations that we would not have had otherwise about contractor safety and safe digging. One of the other things that it's kind of rolled over, it's spilled over into other communities of work, because these contractors don't exist in a vacuum. They work with other contractors, they're in associations, and the word gets out that PG&E is serious about this, and we have a lot of work that goes to a lot of contractors, and it has affected our third-party damages positively that way. The other thing that happens is we use a lot of very large companies that do a lot of work besides their work for PG&E. So when a large company begins to work safer, it has an impact over a much larger footprint than just the work that they're doing for PG&E. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the idea. 10 years ago, a company, who used safety ratings to hire companies? Very few companies did. Today, if you have a good safety rating, it's going to be much easier for you to get work. If you have a poor safety rating, it's going to be very difficult for you to get work. Few large companies want to hire contractors that have very poor safety ratings. There's no metric today that holds companies accountable for their safe digging practices. Our vision is that in 10 years, if you don't have a good performance rating around your safe digging practices, you will not be able to get work. So rather than looking at an enforcement where we go out and slap people's hands for digging improperly, or we have the safe digging cops going out and trying to find and punish those who would dig improperly or unsafely. We have a very positive metric or a very positive system that will reward performance, and people who don't perform just won't be able to come to the table and get work. And we feel that this is the climate and the environment that best establishes, number one, PG&E's values, not only for being a company that puts safety first, but also a company that is a very active member in its community. We don't see ourselves as an enforcement arm or a heavy-handed entity in trying to punish people for bad behavior. But what we do want to do is reward good behavior. Or in another sense, if we're tired of people digging into our system, our first tactic in reducing that is we stop hiring them. And the second step in the tactic is to encourage those around us to stop hiring them. So as an example, there are cities that come to us and say, we're tired of people digging into our system. What can we do? Can you guys come and help us? And one of the first things I say to these cities, because I want them to adopt this gold shovel standard as well, is if you want companies to stop hitting underground gas pipelines, probably the first best strategy is to stop hiring them and don't pay them to do it. And everyone's eyes light up around the table when I talk about this, because it makes really good sense to them. So how do we do that? Well, you just add a little line to your bid package and your bid requirements. You say, in order to bid on this job, you must be a Gold Shovel Standard member, and then there will be a performance metric that I'll talk in a bit that can be used in a number of ways. One of which could be to award companies with better performance scores with the jobs before they would award someone with a lower performance score. We'll get into that in a minute. Let's go to the next slide. So right now we have 450 contractors signed up for the non-PG&E Gold Shovel Standard. When I say that, PG&E assisted a nonprofit organization to take the helm and promote this Gold Shovel Standard nationwide, and actually it's getting up into Canada now as well. And what they've done is they've gotten a lot of other utilities, which you can see on the screen, to get active and adopt Gold Shovel Standard as a potential program that they'll participate in. And this is just the beginning of this vision of 10 years from now. Companies will need to be accountable and have good performance in the area of safe digging in order to get work. So let's go to the next slide. So this is kind of how it works. Companies have OSHA and training, drug and alcohol screening. They've got insurance contracts, and this is all things that in a vendor management system that PG&E would use, that we require companies to maintain. So all we've done is added one additional item in there. Just like having insurance, a company needs to have a Gold Shovel Standard membership. And in the case of PG&E, we're going to require a certain level of performance in that area. We're not going to hire companies that have poor performance or not. One of the beauties of this standard that is now available to all of the areas across the country with people who would like to use it, one of the nice things is you don't have to use PG&E's rule of 3 strikes and you're out. That might be a little bit strict for some companies, and they may not be able to manage their vendors that way. Or some companies may say that that's not strict enough, and so it allows companies to decide what level of performance they would like to see out of these companies, out of their contractors. Another thing that this Gold Shovel Standard being external to our company does is it allows all of our partner utilities, other utilities like the telecommunications business, or even utilities with the same products but in different areas of the country and our state, they can report on the behaviors of some of the contractors that we're hiring. So if a contractor has a horrible safety record in Southern California and they want to move up and do work in Northern California, they'll actually be held accountable for that work that they did in Southern California, because all those utilities in Southern California are pumping that information into the gold shovel standard system. And so we have visibility on a company's performance outside of Northern California. And right now, the only visibility we have before they all sign on, the only visibility we have is how many times somebody hits our system. And we don't know how many times they've hit, say, Verizon or AT&T or San Diego Gas and Electric or any of the other systems. So let's go to the next slide. So there's a certification process that companies will develop safe digging programs. They'll train onboarded employees. So safe digging becomes a part of the onboarding process for new employees. And then there's this, we've come up with this idea of an ICO score, which is kind of like a FICO score. Let's go to the next slide. Kind of like a FICO score. We're kind of relating this to the ISO certification, this gold shovel standard. Let's go to the next slide there. So kind of like your credit rating. You can do things that will increase your FICO score, which is your credit rating, and you can do things that will damage it. And this ICO score that's being developed right now is your excavation score, and that will be a transparent, fair, and consistent way of reporting on a contractor's safe digging practices. So let's go and go to the next slide. So this gold shovel standard is currently available to cities, counties, private companies, publicly owned companies, any organization that wants to make sure that the contractor they hire has committed to be accountable for their safe digging practices and has committed to have and establish and maintain a program of safe digging. So it's available nationwide, and there's a link at the end of the slideshow. But if you have a note, it's goldshovelstandard.com. Pretty easy, goldshovelstandard.com. It's minimal cost, minimal burden, and it's a new, first of its kind strategy. The reason we're so excited about it at PG&E is that we have seen very promising results in just the incipients of the program. We were surprised last year when we saw the number of second-party damages go down so quickly before we even went live. Let's go to the next slide. So that is the gold shovel standard, and there will be a link and a phone number and a contact at the gold shovel standard organization at the end of the slideshow. I'd like to touch on spend a couple of minutes on the other activities that PG&E has completed or is in process of completing to get the results that we did in lowering our damage ratio. The first thing we did last year was roll out this 811 Ambassador program. Basically what the 811 Ambassador program is, an internal program to PG&E, and it encourages our employees when they're out in their neighborhoods, because we have 23,000 employees. Most all of them live in our service territory. Every time they walk out their front door or they go to lunch at work or wherever they are, if they walk past, drive past, bicycle past, walk the dog past, anybody digging, excavation, look for paint on the ground. Look for the yellow flags or the white flags, the delineations that shows that that person who's digging has a USA ticket. If you don't see paint on the ground, if you don't see the flags, call the damage prevention hotline. We will send somebody out to talk to those people. And we, let's go to the next slide. So then our DIRT is the damage, the dig-in reduction team. So DIRT is dig-in reduction team. We've hired a bunch of investigators to go out and investigate all the dig-ins in our system. And we'll send those folks out, and they'll make contact with this person who's digging without a USA ticket. they'll encourage the person to stop the work until they can do it safely. And then the other thing that they'll do is they'll invite that person to one of our safe digging classes, which we offer all over the place. This year to date, we've offered, I believe right now we're at 96 classes year to date across our system. And that's PG&E classes. That's in addition to our one call center that also offers classes. So our approach is very positive. We show up there and we talk about people going home safely. We talk about the hazards of digging without a USA and how easy it is and the fact that it's free. And we encourage people to make use of that free service. And then our classes go further in depth into, okay, once you've made that call, how do you delineate the area? How do you dig safely around the markings? And the class is really good for that. It's about a 90-minute class that we give for free to people. So we'll go to the next slide. So we rolled this out fourth quarter of last year. During the fourth quarter, we had 53 calls. And we thought that was pretty good, 53 calls in 3 months. 39 of the 53 had no USA ticket, and 7 of them occurred near a gas transmission pipeline, which is really the most hazardous facility that we have. In 2016, we're up to an average of about 50 a month. So we're doing every month what we did in a quarter last year. 90% of our calls have, in fact, no USA ticket. One of the things we do for our employees is we've incentivized it. We give them a Starbucks gift card every time they call in. They call in one of these, and we confirm that there was no USA ticket. And my message to my company, and I've said it many times, I've said it in front of our vice presidents and our executives, that my vision is a very caffeinated workforce, because I want these cards to go out, and a $10 Starbucks gift card is nothing compared to the amount of resources that we have to expend, and just the fact that whenever there's a dig-in, it puts a lot of people in harm's way. So we're very happy to reward our employees for keeping their eyes on the ground when they walk out in any part of their life. And there's a phone number that is our damage prevention hotline, and I think this the card that's on the right side of your screen was on, you know what, I'm supposed to be giving screen numbers, but I can't, or slide numbers. I think this is slide 15. It's kind of covered up there. So on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a card that says "Make excavation safety a priority every day." There's a phone number on that card. If you live in PG&E's service territory in Northern California, you can use that number. If you don't, we're probably not going to be able to make it in your area. That would be a little bit of a drive for us. But this is the card we give all of our employees. It has that number on there, and what we've asked our employees to do is put that number in their cell phone so they don't have to carry the card around with them. And it's gotten really good results. Let's go to the next slide. So the last thing that we've done is we've gone to each division. We have 18 divisions in PG&E across our service territory, and we've gone to our divisions that have the highest number of dig-ins. And we've outreached in those divisions. We've gone to the cities and tried to get the building and safety departments to get on board with this one-call enforcement and encouragement. We get our call 811 materials to the permit counters, so everybody going to the permit counter can get our materials. We've gone to equipment rental businesses, any place that sells things or rents things that will dig. We go and we put our flyers up at their cash registers, and they've been even the big box stores have been very cooperative in letting us do that. And then what we'll do is every time we'll go and blitz one of these divisions, we'll give all the employees a bunch of postcards to pass out to contractors and landscapers and plumbers and everybody that they can find. Come to our safe digging class. Our last safe digging class we did just this week in San Jose, we had over 100 people show up. And part of it might be because we give them breakfast, but a lot of it, I think, is that contractors and landscapers and people are interested in doing their job safely and doing it as well as doing their job well. So if we give them an easy way to learn how to do that better, we found that there's positive results, and they do show up. And in the divisions that we've done blitzes, and this is kind of the result of this blitz activity. So across our system, each division has seen about an 18% reduction in the last 12 months, average of reduction in damages. But in the cities that we go and do these blitzes, we've experienced an average of 37% reduction. So we know that these targeted blitzes are effective by bringing down the damage ratio about twice as much as the cities where we don't do the blitzes. So we're continuing that process, and of course every month, because it's a new activity, relatively new activity for us. We've been doing it about a year now. We're always kind of tweaking them and making them a little bit better each time, but we found good results there. And so let's go to the final slide. And this is a slide that has my contact information, and then the second name there is Rick Gallion, and he is running Oro Pala, which in Spanish means gold shovel. And that is the phone number for him is incorrect. I got the wrong phone number on there. So you'd have to go to goldshovelstandard.com and get the phone number. But the email for Rick is correct. That's rick@goldshovelstandard.com if you're interested in the Gold Shovel Standard. So that is, in a nutshell, PG&E's some of PG&E's activities to reduce our third-party and second-party damages in the last 12 to 18 months. We're going to open it up for questions, and it looks like there's 500 people on the line, so this could get interesting. But I'm hoping we get some good discussion here, and please ask me some questions.
Thank you so much, Andy. There are not quite 500 people on the line, but close.
It says 501.
501, yeah, you're right. You're right. I will unmute everyone and let them ask questions. One question we've had come in over the chat is from Brian Edmonds, and he's asking what role, if any, does the California PUC have in the administration or enforcement of this program?
The California PUC does not have a role in the enforcement of the program.
Okay.
So it's and that's kind of part of the approach. PG&E has in order for the Gold Shovel Standard to line up with PG&E's community values, because we have a lot of values in the company, and the company's been around a while. We do not see ourselves as the cops, and we see ourselves as members of the community. So every time we talk to a contractor, we are also talking to our neighbor. And that's the way that we've approached all of our programs with respect to reducing these dig-ins. I would not go to my neighbor and tell him I'm going to call the cops on him before I went to my neighbor and said, you know what, I care about your safety, and I care about my safety, and I care about your kids, and I care about my kids. Can we do this a little bit differently, and can I help you? And that's really how PG&E is showing up with our damage reduction programs. And it's successful so far.
Yeah. Great. I will attempt to unmute everyone. We've had a little bit of background noise. So I don't know how this is going to work. One question that's come up for me is at our last NARUC meeting, we had several presentations on this topic and on, in and around it. One thing that came up was that New York and the Northeast are fairly advanced in their having lots of data and able to crunch numbers, etc., and kind of trend-based. What sort of advice do you have for other entities that are not quite as far along in getting that far, etc.?
Okay, thank you. Yes, here I am. I got accidentally muted there for a minute. So, so what advice do I have for the people that don't have the sophisticated numbers and support and all of that? Well, first of all, I was very excited to hear our proposal back in December, and I have done on board a lot of other large and very respected utilities and organizations. So I think this gold shovel standard is a good start or a good enhancement to no matter where you are along the spectrum of digging safety. And I will say that California is, and by its own admission, and it's been recognized by our Public Utilities Commission, and we are involved in helping some legislation get through that will improve the situation. But our state is not sophisticated in regulating safe digging. So I think this program, even in there was a utility in Virginia that was interested in this program, and Virginia has a fantastic one-call process and one-call law. And there are people in Virginia who want to do even better. And I think it tells me two things. Number one, this program can help anybody, no matter where they are on the spectrum of sophistication with safe digging in their state. And number two, my utility industry that I'm a member of is very passionate about the safety of their products and the safety of the communities that they're in. And that really adds pride when I think about the profession that I'm in. I'm proud to be a member because of that fact.
Gotcha. Another question we've had come in says, in your count of one-call tickets, do you include refreshes when an excavator calls in to have a markout updated?
I believe I think we will count for when the ticket expires and they re-up the ticket and we go out and remark. I believe we do count those. And I don't know whether we count if we need to be called out to maintain the marks and it's not part of re-upping the ticket. But that's not, the locating part of this and the ticket management is not part of the group that I manage. So those two facts I may be a little bit off on.
Gotcha, so those are actually separate.
I have my counterpart in Locate and Mark. We have a very large group of locators in our Locate and Mark organization. And our projected, just to let you know the scale of the number of tickets that we manage, we are projecting about 1.1 tickets this year.
1.1 million?
Million, I'm sorry, yeah, 1.1 million tickets this year.
Wow. Okay. Anyone else have a question? I have gone through and unmuted a bunch of folks, so speak up if you have a question.
Maybe I put everyone to sleep.
Not at all. All right. I think we've stumped them. I think they're all aware and going to go and get involved.
Well, I certainly hope so. You know, the idea of the gold shovel standard, without a large number of participants, is kind of like the same thing as Facebook with only five people signed up. It doesn't work unless people get on board.
Right.
So we're right in the beginnings. We've got some good momentum. There's some great companies that have signed on with us, and we're looking for more. We're looking for private companies and contractors to sign on. We're looking for cities and counties to only hire gold shovel standard members, and we're looking for utilities to join with us in membership in this gold shovel standard so that we can make this a reality and bring damages down.
All right, going once, going twice. Anyone else with questions? Please speak up. All right. I think that we really appreciate you coming and presenting to us today.
Thank you. It's been a great opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for everyone who attended. Please let us know if you have questions or ideas for future webinars. It's been great. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Thursday.